Okay, we have someone, P. Liu from Scarborough. Great, from Centennial College, from Etobicoke. Okay, perfect.
Amazing. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Katerina. I'm an HR manager and also a career coach. I've been in HR for over 6 years now, and I also have worked with many international students and internationally trained professionals. I'm excited to be here and provide some tips on, like how to build a good resume.
Thank you, Katerina. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandra. I'm a career coach. I am also a job developer from a nonprofit organization, and I have been helping immigrants to land a job for over 3 years now since I moved to Canada. So I'm glad to be sharing what we know and basically sharing how you can improve your resume in order to get the job that you're looking for. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So before we get started, just like a few housekeeping stuff. This is a very like an interactive workshops. So we encourage you to use either your microphone or the chat window. You can type all of your questions in the chat window. If you prefer to use the microphone, just let us know, and then we can unmute you and you can ask your questions. Also, this session is being recorded, and all of you will receive a recording in their emails in the next couple of days. And all of our future sessions are listed under the events tab in the event. So please check them out because we have like a really great events coming up for July and August. Okay. So a little bit about Devon, but I'm sure all of you are familiar with who we are and what we do. We help international students and alumni to stay, work, and succeed in Canada. Devant in French means to get in front of, and that's what we know that it's our aim for you. We want to help you get ahead of the competition and also present yourself in front of the employer so you can build your Canadian career. And if you can log into your career support portal and you can use all of the job search resources that we have available on that portal. So that being said, I just want to review the agenda with you. So we are going to talk first about best practices for resume tools. We're going to talk about the advanced resume tools, and also I know that it says live resume reviews, but at this point we didn't receive any resumes from any of the participants. So we are definitely going to talk a little bit more about resumes and probably can provide you with some advice. And in the end, we'll be open for questions. Also, please, throughout the workshops, if you have any questions, type them in the chat window and we will be happy to answer them. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to Sandra so she can start the workshops.
Thank you, Katrina. Okay, so first thing first, one of the things that I want you to have in mind is that revamping your resume and having a resume that is tailored to the position that you are interested in applying is very important, among other reasons, because that is going to be your golden ticket to get the interview. So the whole purpose of the resume is telling the hiring manager who you are and why you are a good fit for that job, because that is going to get you higher chances to get the interview. And during the interview, of course, you'll have the second opportunity to showcase who you are and showcasing why you are a good fit for the job. So one of the best practices that we would like to share today for resume writing is first, limit your personal information. In many countries, we are used to put a lot of information, things like family and household information, even the picture. That is not the way a resume has to be done in a Canadian way. So it is very, very important that you limit your personal information, including your marital status, never mention that, never mention things like age, among other reasons, because it's considered illegal to discriminate someone because of the age, because of the gender, because of the ethnic background. So the less you put in that regards, the better. Now, the second important thing to keep in mind is that you need to focus on your accomplishment, not the task description, okay? So let's say that you have been working as an account manager. It's not important to mention what are the tasks that you were doing as an account manager, like handling clients, keeping information updated, mainly because that is something that is supposed to be part of your job description, right? So what you want to show is basically what makes you different, what makes you stand up among all other candidates that are applying to the jobs. Even better if you can mention some numbers. Let me give you an example. If you were an account manager and you were handling, let's say, 25 different clients, you need to make sure that you mention that you were successfully able to handle the 25 clients that were under your umbrella. So adding a couple of numbers is going to show also the dimension of the job that you were doing. Third, try to create a tailored resume for each job posting. I know that that is probably the most difficult part of creating your resume, and later we are going to show how you can use all the band resources for writing a resume that is tailored to the position. But make sure that you fully understand what is the job description, what is the 2 or 3 main requirements for that job, and make sure that you try to fit all your achievements into those requirements, okay? So tailoring the resume is very important also because we are going to be able to beat the ATS, which is the automatic tracking system. Mainly that is a software that is going to make sure that your resume is going to be handed to the recruiter. Lastly, but not least, you need to be very concise. So regardless of your experience, make sure that your resume is no longer than 2 pages. So for someone applying for an entry-level position, perhaps a new graduate like many of you, 1 page is good enough. The second page will be for someone applying to a mid or even a senior position, perhaps with over 5 years of experience. Okay? So 1 to 2 pages is good enough. Make sure that you put all the relevant information, not every achievement that you have done, only those who are really important for the job that you are trying to apply. Thank you. Okay, so as we were saying, it is very important not only to tailor the resume for the position that you are interested in applying, but most importantly, you need to make sure that your resume is going to be the ATS. So the ATS is again the software that is going to be scanning all the words and all the achievements that you put on your resume in order for those achievements and that information to be meeting the requirement for the job description. So somehow the ATS is making sure that whatever is on the job description, at least on average of 80% is going to be on your resume. That's why we want to show you how to work with the resources that we have in our portal. Okay, so first thing you need to have is your school career support portal. You need to have your password, and also you need your user information because this is for individual use only, okay? So each of you should have a portal, okay, and should have created an account that is going to allow you to even create the resume, but later on to scan the resume to make sure that it's meeting the criteria, okay? And lastly, it's going to help you to prepare for the interview, which is another amazing resource that we have in the portal. Thank you, Katrina. Okay, so one of the things we wanted to show is the resumes that you were trying to get. However, because we didn't receive the resumes, I wanted to show you a little bit more about what are the main sections in a resume. Let me see. I think we can open the account. Do you think we can open the account at your end, or I'll try at my end? Just to show them how the platform works.
The one platform?
Yes. Do you have your
Yeah,
account?
you can try and open it on your end. I don't have that.
Okay, let me try to open mine. Just give me 1 second. Meanwhile, you can all put the questions on the chat and we will start opening those questions, okay? Just give me 1 second.
Okay, so while Sandra is trying to log into the website, to the page, sorry, I
Okay.
just wanted to add a little bit about the applicant tracking system. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the ATS, but a lot of big companies use an ATS, and what the ATS does is the recruiter plugs some words that they think are important for the candidate to have, and then when you submit your resume, they kind of like scan the resume. The ATS scans the resume based on the keywords. So if you don't have those keywords included in your job description, your resume will be rejected. So we don't like the ATS, to be honest, and it's really hard to like pass the ATS and your resume to be like handed to the hiring manager. But my advice is try to follow that, just to like review the job description, highlight all of the keywords that you think are important. Let's say if you're applying for an accounting role, right? Probably you will see words like handling accounts payables or accounts receivables, cash flows, requisitions. So there are like a lot of like different like keywords that are like very popular, I would say, like, you know, like in for that type of role. So make sure that you include those words in your job description, but also make sure that you have experience, right? Like, let's say if they're looking for somebody to handle accounts payables, include it in your resume if you have experience, right? Like handling accounts payables. You don't want to lie, but always try to highlight the keywords on the resume. And then if you have experience and if you have that particular skill, include it in the job description. Sorry, in your resume. So there's like a lot of tools out there that can help you. We have this on the Devant page. Sandra just like explained it. There's like one page where you can just like add the job description, you know, like the role that you want to apply. And then also there's like another side where you can just add your resume. So the job scan, pretty much like the scan, is going to tell you if you have some of the keywords that are included in the job description. Also, there's like a tool called Job Scan that is available. They have like the free version. You can kind of like try and check and see like if it works. I just want to say, like, do not trust like this tool 100%, because a lot of times when you post copy and paste the job postings, they just catch words from, let's say, the section that it's about the company. So definitely the recruiters, they don't want you to include like keywords like about the company, right? So so just like make sure about that. But like it's a really great tool to help you, you know, like scan the keywords and include them in the resume.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Could you please enable that for me?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just want to answer the question. The Devant resume tool, I think what Sandra showed you, like, that should be for free. And if you have an account through your college or university, I think you would be able to get that tool for free. But just like we have like resume service where like if you want to somebody to review your resume and make some changes, then like that it's a paid service. But I think the tool that we just showed you is free.
Yeah, it's actually included on the account. Okay,
Yes.
so can you make me co-host so I can share my screen, please, Verena? Thank you so much. See. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to put a video that is basically from our own website at Divan. So I want to go back a little bit and tell you a little more about how it's going to work. So when you go to the Divan section, directly to our portal, and you enter with your college information, what's going to happen is that the system is going to show you how to build the resume from scratch. Okay, so make sure that you follow the step by step, because it's going to show you the different the different sections on the resume, starting with the profile, okay? So I'm going to share the video, just let me know if you can see it and hear it.
CV is your golden ticket to the interview. But when you're faced with creating a CV, it can feel like you have a mountain to climb. Breaking the climb down into 3 easy steps turns the mountain into a molehill. The 3 steps are: plan it, write it, check it. Nearly always overlooked, the planning stage is what gives you the clarity and the perspective to accept the challenge and stop procrastinating. To plan your CV, think, collate, match, and present. So, collate. First of all, you have to get all your work experience together: full-time, part-time, paid, volunteer, hobby-related, all of it. Then write down all your many strengths and where you demonstrated them, and your glory moments and where they happened. Next, match your skills, strengths, and experience to each of the jobs and companies you're applying for. Remember, you'll probably need more than one version of your CV. Finally, think how to present it. If you're uploading your CV online, a machine will probably process it before a human. So stick with a simple, image and table-free Word document. Save your flashy infographic CV for the interview. Whenever and however your CV reaches a person, the most relevant facts have got to pop out. So think about style, structure, and formatting, as well as layout. Everybody's CV looks a bit different, but generally these are the sections most include. Start with the easiest bits first to give you some confidence. Just get the facts down: titles, names, dates, locations. If you're just starting out, you may want to put your education before your work experience. If you've got more years of experience, only include the most relevant and recent jobs in detail, and make sure your education section is highly summarized. The interest section is an often missed opportunity to communicate your passions and humanize your CV, so make it memorable. References should only be included if you're going to add details. References available on request is not a great use of valuable space on your CV. The key skills section is optional, but it's a great way to highlight your most relevant skills and experience to time-pressured recruiters. And finally, when you know what you want to pitch to the hiring manager, write your personal statement or profile in no more than 5 lines, summarizing your strengths, experience, and skills, and what's important to you. Make it personal and authentic, while still showing the benefit you bring. CV isn't ready if it hasn't been checked. If you don't have access to a CV checking tool, there are 6 quick checks you can do right now. File. Keep it simple with an MS Word document and include your name in the file name. Presentation. If it's over 2 pages, cut it down. Include section headings, then take a step back and look at the overall readability of your CV. Consider the ratio of white space to text. Structure and content. Have you included the key sections in your CV, and are they fully completed? Skills. Have you included core employability skills throughout your CV? Language. Check your spelling and grammar and variety of vocabulary. Avoid jargon and phrases copied from the internet. Relevance. Check that your CV is specific to the role and employer you're applying to. To plan your CV, get all your experience together, match it to the job you're applying for, and choose an appropriate template.
I'm going to stop you right there. Let me just froze the image because I want to remark in a couple of tips that I think are going to be helpful. So one of the most difficult things for writing your own resume is somehow getting to know yourself, especially for people like us who are coming from another country and perhaps even changing careers. It's difficult to understand how I can match my own skills and my own experience to what the job is requiring. Even if I am totally sure that I can do the job, I am pretty sure that all of us have had the feeling that we read a job description and somehow we say, hey, this resonates to me, this sounds like me, this is the kind of job I'm used to doing, and this is what I'm preparing for. However, when we try to put that into words, among other reasons, because of the language barrier, we can find that it's not that easy. So one of the best advice I would like to share with all of you today is mainly getting to know you better every single time you write your resume. So somehow, the more you read the job description, the more you get familiarized with that specific role. And for that, it is also very important to get to know the company that you are applying. Let's suppose that you are applying for Acme company. You want to make sure that you know what they do, what market are they into, what kind of corporate culture they have. For that, nowadays it's so much easier. All you have to do is go to Google that company, perhaps going to LinkedIn and see what kind of people they hire, who is in charge of each department, how big they are. That kind of things are going to give you a better approach, not only to getting more chances to get the interview and of course passing the interview, but mainly to see if that is the kind of company where you can add value to the position. Because at the end, that's pretty much what you need to put on your resume. How I can solve that company problem and how I can add value to that company by doing what I already know how to do. Okay? So for that, it is important that you even keep a regular notebook where you can keep a record of your experience and your achievement for every single time you need to create a new resume. Okay? So if you have like a pool of achievements and a pool of experience for someone with, let's say, 3 or even more years of experience, it's easier to build a resume that is going to be tailored for every single position. Okay? Again, because you need to make sure that it's matching the job description. As you saw on the video, probably a machine is going to read the resume even before a real human person is going to do it. Okay? So again, going back to this part, choose a template. Please keep in mind that depending on the role and depending on your experience, you also can do 2 different type of resumes. So there is a resume that is called a chronological resume. That is pretty much the classic way of doing the resume when you are applying to something that is mostly within your career and is something that you have been doing, let's say, for the past 10 years in different companies. So all you have to do is, of course, the positions and of course the achievements for each role, okay, going backwards. But let's say that you are applying for something that is within your field. You can be a good fit, but it's not exactly the same role because as many of us, you are switching careers in between. So perhaps you will go better with something called a functional resume, where instead of putting every single job that you have done, you focus on your skills, okay? So keep that in mind when you are choosing the format. So I'm going to continue with the video and then I want to go over through the sections again because that is probably one of the main questions that we are going to have.
Create template. To write your CV, start with the easy sections first, get the level of detail right, don't waste any space, and leave your personal profile till last, when you know who you are to the employer. Your CV is your first impression. Don't ruin that first impression because you haven't bothered to check it. A really good CV is what will get you to the interview. So start planning your CV right now. What's stopping you?
Okay.
So start planning your CV right now. What's stopping you? Because you haven't bothered to check it. A really good CV.
Okay, so here we have the recap about how to write a good resume. First thing you need to do is plan it. So plan the resume means you are already aware about the role, about the job description because you read it twice at least. You also know the company, okay? And you also know who you are and what you can do like for solving the problem for that company. Like what are your main achievements and what part of your experience is going to be relevant to this particular role. That is about planning the resume. So you already have the format, you already have the pool of achievements, you already have all the information about your education, the training, and all the job experience that you have, including volunteering experience, which is very important, especially if you are someone from other country, because that is going to demonstrate that you have Canadian experience. Okay, so another advice in that sense will be, if you don't get a job yet, at least try to connect with people here by volunteering in something related to your interest, so you can earn not only contacts, but also Canadian experience. Now, for writing the resume, which is putting again all this information about who you are and how you can work in this particular role in only 1 or 2 pages, you need to make clear that you know everything about each section. So first, let's go with the personal information. Try to focus only on what is really needed, which is your name, your contact information that has to be updated, especially if you are someone who is not able to attend every single phone call, because let's say you are studying or you are doing another job, at least try to keep an eye on the phone every day at the end of the day. And also your email address, because most likely the hiring manager or even the recruiter, if this is a bigger company, is going to send you an email inviting you for an interview, asking you another pre-screening questions, and so on. And lastly, try to include your LinkedIn profile. Why? Because nowadays the LinkedIn profile became somehow either a replacement sometimes or an addition to the resume. So again, your name, your phone number, your email address, and your LinkedIn profile. For some people and for some roles, you can include something about the city where you live, okay, depending on the role. So depending on the role, you might include the city, and even for some people, it's relevant to include the area code, mostly for people who is not driving and needs to commute to work with like different schedules, okay? Because some recruiters and some hiring managers are looking for people who can really get to the job place on time, okay? But that is for some jobs that are requiring to be at the place, let's say 7 a.m., 6 a.m. if you are taking a night shift. So most highly, I will recommend to put just the city. Let's say Toronto. I saw someone from Sault Ste. Marie, things like that. Again, email, phone number, and LinkedIn profile along with your name. That's all you need to put here for name and personal details. Now, personal profile, I like to think of the personal profile as your elevator pitch. It's basically telling the recruiter who you are in terms of your professional experience and your professional development, okay? Try to express if you are a hands-on person, if you are someone who is good working as part of a team, like trying to put 3 to 5 lines expressing who you are as a worker, who you are as a professional, okay? Don't focus on your experience, okay? Mainly what you want to put there is your elevator pitch, or also some people take the personal profile out of the cover letter. It's similar to the first paragraph in a cover letter. Now, the key skills, this part, even though the video says is optional, I think it's very important and it's something that everyone is checking like nowadays. Also because for the recruiter, it's a way of saving time. So everything that is part of the job description, in terms of the skills, try to put it there. If they send, we want someone with the ability to commute, to move around, people with the ability to work as part of the team, because we are going to be working in a fast-paced environment. Those are the type of skills that you want to make sure that you add on your resume, unless it's not part of who you are. Like Katrina mentioned a moment ago, you don't want to be lying on the resume, because at the end, if they call you for the interview, that is something everyone is going to notice, and you are going to ruin your chances. So I think our recommendation is try to translate who you are into the resume without putting something that you cannot commit to, something that you cannot do don't add it to the resume, because if they ask you for that on the interview, you are going to look very bad. One of the main things that Canadians are looking for is accountability. They want to be able to trust in other people, especially employees. Okay, now work experience. For people with a lot of experience, somehow it's difficult to select what experience to be put on the resume. Trust me, I have been there, and all I can tell you is try to make sure that you put only the experience that is really relevant for that specific job. Of course, you have done many amazing things, but not all of them are going to be pertinent for this specific position. Okay, that's why we want to limit the total length of the resume to 1 or 2 pages max. Okay, now education and qualification. For this one, you want to add all your credentials, especially again, if they are relevant for this specific job. If you have done something that has nothing to do with this, like with this particular role, if you have a space, perhaps you can add something very simple. Okay, I know someone, it's a real case of someone who went to school here for architectural designer, and also she is an electrician from back home. But for certain reasons, she went to school back in her country also for hospitality, right? So hospitality is not going to add anything for a job in construction, but she just mentioned that she had this degree, and from that degree, she got to be someone with customer service experience, okay? So perhaps if you have the space, you can use it, but if you need to sacrifice something relevant just for putting a degree that has nothing to do, my advice will be keeping that away, okay? Now, interest, I will say depending on how much space do you still have, and also if you are applying for a position that is maybe an entry-level role, or if you are someone with maybe less than 3 years of experience. For someone who is recently graduated, perhaps interests are important, especially if they are related to the job. If not, I will say that is somehow personal information that doesn't need to be added, okay? And again, references, usually nowadays we are recommending not to put the references, because if you are called, sorry, for the interview, and again, if you pass the interview, for sure they are going to ask you about the references. And what you need to make sure is that the person that you are naming as a reference knows in advance that you are going to be adding that name. Let's say that I'm going to add Katerina as one of my references. For sure, the day before they call her, or 2 days before they call her, I will let her know, hey, Katerina, is that okay if I share your information with this company who is interviewing me for this particular role? You don't want your reference to be cut out of sight for this call or for this email, okay? I'm not sure if we have questions so far at this point before we continue. Do we have any
Questions in the
questions?
chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat window.
Okay.
Or
Now,
you can unmute your microphone and you can ask your question. That's another option.
okay, so in that case, I'm going to share the second video, mainly about what to include for each section. It pretty much recap everything I have said until now, but I want you to make sure that you know what to put on each section, okay? So I'm going to start sharing again. Just give me 1 second.
The first thing you need to ask
Just
yourself when
sec.
writing.
Okay. Let me know if you are seeing the video.
The first thing you need to ask yourself when writing your CV is what you're going to include. Both hiring managers and the systems that manage online applications for them, known as applicant tracking systems, or ATSs, have certain expectations around CV content. So, which sections do you need in your CV, and what content do you need to include in each section? For the contact information section, include your first and last name, a phone number, and a professional email address. Add links to your LinkedIn profile and any other social media profiles that are beneficial to your application. It shows you're comfortable using technology and understand the importance of personal branding. Leave out personal details like your date of birth, proof of ID, or marital status, as you may be opening yourself up to discrimination or identity theft. For your education section, include the name of the institution, level, course name, and a summary of your grades for all your qualifications. For your most recent qualifications, you should add more details such as relevant skills you've acquired while studying. Add dates and list your education in reverse chronological order. For the crucial work experience section, list your jobs in reverse chronological order and include the company, job title, and start and end date for every role. Don't limit yourself to full-time roles. Relevant part-time jobs and volunteering experience can be just as valuable. To provide evidence of your abilities, your achievements in this section should include any actions you took using essential employability or required technical skills that produced a measurable benefit. A personal profile is a short paragraph at the top of your CV that summarizes who you are and what you have to offer. It's not compulsory, but can help grab the hiring manager's attention and entice them to read on. Keep it between 6 and 8 lines and add a header to ensure the section is found by the ATS. Including hobbies and interests isn't compulsory, but they can give the hiring manager a glimpse into your personality, which is just as important to them as your skills and experience. They can also be a useful icebreaker at the interview. You can choose to leave references out of your CV, in which case the employer will assume you'll make them available when they request them. If you do want to include the names, roles, and contact details of references, make sure they agree to this first. Writing references available on request is okay, but can be considered a waste of valuable CV space. When it comes to writing your CV, make sure the basics are covered. That means including your contact details, education, and work experience. Once that's done, you're encouraged to write a personal profile to take your CV to the next level, and you might consider adding in your hobbies and interests and the details of any valuable references.
It went all over again. Okay, so one of the important things to keep in mind again is the format. So as we were discussing a moment ago, the ATS is basically the scanner, right? So you want to make sure that every single word that you post on the resume is again read correctly by this scanner, because that's how the resume is going to go to the recruiter. So pretty much the way it works, and this is something that you know from behind the wall, behind the curtain, is when you send the resume, let's say that you find an amazing job on Indeed, right? So you send and you submit the resume on Indeed. That resume most likely is going to be tracked by the ATS. Among other reasons, because the amount of resumes that any recruiter will receive, depending of course on the role, will be between 200 and even 500. So the more specific the role it is, the less resumes that they will receive. But the more entry-level position it is, the more competitive, right? So if you are applying for something, for an entry-level position in a field that is now crowded and not in high demand, perhaps this recruiter is going to get, let's say, 300 resumes, right? So this is how it works again. You submit your resume on Indeed. Indeed, or the company or both, they have their own tracking system. And the tracking system is literally going to filter 100 resumes out of the 300 that were submitted, okay? So those 100 resumes that were passing the ATS are going to get into the recruiter hands. The recruiter is going to check perhaps 3 to 5 seconds for the most suitable candidates. That's why you want to have your skills up on the top, because that's pretty much the only thing they are going to see at first. Along with that, they are going to make sure that you meet the basic criteria, including the level of education. So if the job description is asking for someone with a college diploma, you need to make sure that that is also included in the proper format, so you don't get excluded because you didn't put that. Let me give you an example. If you have a master's degree, of course you have a bachelor's degree. But somehow, because you need to beat the ATS, you need to make sure that you have included both, that you have your bachelor and your master with the year of graduation, okay? Otherwise, the system is not that smart and is not going to read that. It's not going to imply that because you have a master, you also have a bachelor, right? So you need to make sure that all the information is there, and also in a format that is as clean as possible. So many of us have made the same mistake of using these templates that are online, full of color, with a weird format for the name, with a lot of columns dividing the resume. That is not going to overpass the ATS. Regardless of the way it looks to our eyes, it's not going to be good for passing the system. So again, 300 applications on Indeed, perhaps 100 going to the hands of the recruiter. And out of that 100 resumes, the recruiter most likely is going to select 10, let's say 20 people, okay, that are going to be shortlisted for the hiring manager. So the hiring manager is going to take at least 1 or 2 minutes to check those resumes and call, let's say out of the 20, they are going to call 5 people for the interview. That is the max. So again, you are competing against the 300 at the very beginning. That's why it's so important that your resume is precise, is concrete, is short, and is using the right format, mainly to beat the ATS, and lastly, to get the eyes or the attention from the recruiter and the hiring manager. Again, this is only for getting the golden ticket of being interviewed. That's why it's highly competitive. That's why we also invite you all to ask all the questions, because you have the advantage of having us here today, and also using all the resources that you have from your Divan account. So any questions that you have? I see someone here on the chat who is studying at Centennial. It is a program in Health Services Office Administration. So just to open the conversation, I would like to ask you, if you can put on the chat, what do you think are the most important skills that you need to remark in your resume if you are applying for a job in the health services area, especially as an office administrator?
We do have a question. What are the details that should be included under work experience, like place of work, duration of work, job duties, etc.?
Okay, so again, let's keep in mind that the job duties, mainly the tasks, are not as important as the achievements. Okay, so let me give you my personal example. I work at the same university for 20 years, but I did many roles. So I work as a professor, but also as part of my job, I was a program coordinator, right? So if I am applying for a job as a professor, I will keep only that part, making sure that I'm adding numbers, right? Like, okay, I oversaw more than 50 graduation papers or theses or final documents. I was able to deliver 3 or 5 subjects within a year, things like that. Mainly focus on the achievements. So what you need to post is the name of the company. If the company is from outside of Canada, some people recommend to put a short description about what company that is. So let's say Acme Company, and you put in parentheses that this is a company that manufactures food, right? Because no one knows what is Acme Company from a different country. But if you put a short description in parentheses, it's going to help them. Okay, this person has worked in manufacturing before. Then you basically put the name of your role. But again, one of the things you need to keep in mind is even the same role might have different names in different countries. Okay, so there are roles like, let me give you an example. A business analyst is a role that is clearly defined in Canada, but it's not clearly defined in other countries because can have a different name. Like even business analysts are somehow confused with project managers, are confused with IT specialists. They are also confused with planners. So they have different names. So you can even play with that without lying again and just changing the name so it looks pretty much with the same name they are using on the role. So if I work as a business analyst, I can just put the business analyst, okay? Even though it has a different name in my country, all right? Now, that is the second part. And lastly, 3 to 5 bullet points. That is also very important. Don't go with a lot of bullet points, making like putting everything you have done in that particular role. Just put 3 to 5 that are measurable, so you can add the names on it, that are clear and are similar to what they are looking for you to do if you get hired. Okay, so let's say as a business analyst, I was solving the communication problem within the IT department and the accounting department, right? So let's make sure that I'm putting something that I have done similar to that. Okay, so we have a response here. The skills that are needed as a healthcare office administrator. Microsoft Office Suite, typing skills, medical terminology, human anatomy, medical transcription, medical billing, organization skills. Perfect. Interpersonal skills, customer service skills, attention to detail, and work ethics. Perfect. So one important thing is all that is going to be on the job description because it's part of the nature of this role. So make sure that you add those as part of your skills on the profile section, okay? Even you can use part of those when you describe yourself, mentioning something like, I am an organized person with a strong interpersonal skills. I'm good working with people and I have outstanding customer service skills or abilities, right? So you make sure that the words are there, okay? But also you make sure that is going to showcase that you can do the job. So it's two things. You will be beating the ATS, but you also will be making sure that when someone reads that on your resume at the very beginning, you are going to be noticed for those skills that are relevant for the job. Okay, do we have any more questions?
No questions right now, but just wanted to go over the last two slides. So at Devon, we do have a resume writing service, and right now we have a promotion. It's $79 one-time fee. And one of our professional writers, they're going to review the resume, they're going to make changes. So you're going to get a resume that will get you the job and pass down applicant tracking system. Also, we have a bunch of upcoming a few of events coming up in July. So next week, we have the career path in the healthcare field. So I know that we had a couple of people that joined us today. They're in the healthcare field. So definitely this workshop is for you. July 17, we have the career development Q&A. This is a really good workshop where we just like answer questions, and you can ask questions about anything: job search, resume, cover letter, networking, LinkedIn, anything. Then July 24th, we have the immigration QA. So definitely join this. They will answer like a lot of your immigration questions. And then July 31st, it's financial literacy in Canada. So these are all great sessions. Please log into your portal to register. I think we have somebody, I think Gabriel has a question. Gabriel, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Because I wanted to find out if a functional resume will be more suitable for a role that I'm applying for. Like, okay, peradventure I have an experience I did when I did like an internship in undergrad, and I'm applying for like a part-time job. So like, how do I marry it? Because I already have over 5 years experience after my undergraduate phase. So how do I like marry the the resume and the role? I don't know if my question was understand.
So could you repeat the last part again, Gabriel?
It's
Okay, so
very
I said,
quiet. I'm not sure if maybe you
Yeah.
can try to speak like close to your computer or to your device.
okay, I said, will a functional resume be more preferable to use for a role that I probably did like an internship I have experience for when I did undergraduate studies, and I'm applying for like maybe a part-time job now, but I haven't done anything relating to that in my other years of experience. So like how do I what type of resume would be best suited for the role?
Okay. So basically, since you are applying to something that is going to be part-time and is also not exactly like the career goal that you have in mind, and also not the career path that you have followed, I will say that the functional resume is a good option. Also, because if you are looking for a part-time position, perhaps it's going to be like a temporary job. In that case, the functional resume is somehow shorter and more aimed into the core of the role. And most likely, the recruiter or the ATS is going to take that one into consideration. Also, because you don't want to look overqualified for the job, putting everything you have done in the past and all your experience. I'm not sure if that answered your questions.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. No problem.
Do we have any other questions? We have 4 more minutes. Any questions about resume? Or can be anything. If you have questions about interviewing or like cover letter or networking. 4 more minutes.
Meanwhile, I'm going to give you a quick, like a quick tip that has worked for me before, and is keeping like something that you can call like a master resume that is quite long and includes all the information. So for every single job, you get to filter that one and you get to delete whatever is not relevant. Okay. And then it's going to be faster to create a new resume, because then you will have like a template that you can tailor for every job. It's harder to start like from scratch every single time. So if you have a master resume that is even 3 to 4 pages and you can just cut and paste whatever you need, can be so much faster, especially because if you apply faster for a job, perhaps you have better chances.
I just want to add to that. So the master resume can be 20 pages. Like, I'm not kidding. So when you write like that, that is something that you keep for yourself. You don't submit that, right? Like you have a master resume, let's say for a particular job, you list like 20 or 30 bullet points, pretty much everything that you have completed in that job. And then when you apply for a job, you have your targeted resume. That is the resume that you submit to the job, to submit to the company. So when you create your targeted resume, you just copy and paste like a few bullet points from your master resume and include them in your targeted resume. So the master resume includes every single thing that you did, all of your experiences, like everything that you completed in that job, because every job that you're applying might have like a different requirements. Maybe what one job is asking you, like to have, the other job won't. So that's why it's good to have a master resume where you have everything in that one, and then you just copy and paste into the targeted resume. So it can be the master resume can be how many pages you want it to be, really depending on your experience.
Totally. We also have a very important question on the chat. Someone is asking if you should submit a PDF or a Word resume. So I will say it depends. If you are handling the resume, I like the Word version because somehow it's going to be easy to adapt. Like if you are connecting with someone directly and you are already seeing that person. Otherwise, if you are applying online, I will say, and perhaps you have a different opinion, Katarina, but I will go with a PDF.
I will go PDF all the time. Just because when you submit Word document, you never know, sometimes things might get shifted and your resume might not be presented in the, and might not have like a really good structure. So always a PDF, because whether you submit over an email or LinkedIn or like just send it like over, like from your phone, the PDF will not make any changes, right? So like always PDF.
Yeah. Even for the ATS, Word can make you a tricky mistake just by
Yes.
a period or a comma that you put in the wrong place.
Exactly. Okay, so it's already 8 o'clock. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the workshop. I feel like that you got a lot of like great tips, and you can apply them and add them. Like make changes to your resume, and you can like start applying. Hopefully you will join like another of our workshops. You can definitely check the Devant website, and that's all for tonight. Thank you for joining us again.